principal here at Springfield High School, and this series of discussions represents the collective efforts of the staff and students here to, as part of the establishment of a Negotiated Education Plan, or NEP, identify and address the barriers to learning of one of our Year 9 students with mild autism spectrum disorder, Morty.
My name is Kate Webber, and I currently have 2 children enrolled within Springfield High School. Now, one of my children has been assessed with a mild case of ASD, also known as autism. We have been to 3 different schools already where I've had my concerns with communication and the approaches to learning being used towards his education. I don't wish to move my children from school to school, but as a parent, I want what is best for both my children. Now, I've made some notes here about the concerns I wish to express within this video, so bear with me. I've raised my concerns with most of his teachers, as I'm concerned about his social interactions and his academic learning. His teachers seem to be supportive and sensitive to the issue in my child's disability. However, they're labelling my child as disruptive to others. I feel there was no real understanding of autism and the issues my child was having in class being related to this disorder. After numerous conversations with his school teachers, I found the majority of your teachers didn't have enough experience or knowledge with assisting children with additional needs, such as autism, and how to differentiate tasks, routines, and practices to ensure all children are learning. Now, I've done my research. The Convention of Rights of the Child identifies in their Article 3, all organisations concerned with children should work towards what is best for each child. I strongly believe the majority of the teachers within the school environment should be equipped with further knowledge and learning to assist all their students. As mentioned in the Australian Institute for Teaching and School Leadership in Standard 1 Professional Knowledge 1.5 and 1.6, where strategies to support full participation of students with disability and apply differentiation to teaching and learning styles to meet the needs of their students. Providing this knowledge to your staff will not only assist my child, but all the children within your school, with teachers being more confident in their performance and their development, but also applying strategic planning will aid the children. Now, one of my children experiences hypersensitivity, which means in most cases he reacts to sounds, lights, smells, and even some types of textures. When he is stressed, he demonstrates self-injurious behaviours such as head banging, and he'll be vocal about it. He will also, in severe cases, bite the top of his arms here. But that is very rare. Small steps to eliminate some potential outbursts my son may have due to his surroundings can simply be resolved by applying small changes. Some of the things I do at home is I would turn the lights on and off before he enters and leaves the room. That helps him eliminate that stressor, just that simple step. I noticed a major stressor for him is the school bell. Now, this could be associated with the pitch or tone of the bell, so I was wondering if we could investigate different tones and it may help him adjust better to the sound. That would be very helpful, and I would really much appreciate that. He can also get anxiety to change of routines, and he copes a lot better when changes are discussed with him and that he understands them. So spontaneous changes could be a stressor for him. I have another one here, sorry. Oh, yes, this is a good point. Now, I recently found out how large the class sizes was, and I'm apprehensive about this, as the ratio to students to teacher, I feel as though my son isn't getting the appropriate support in his classes to cope with such stresses, and he's being excluded in this context. In having an effective partnership with my son's homeroom teacher, we discussed some concerns about his learning, and he said that his learning was below average. And he also suggested an inclusion support worker to assist him in his learning. This would be greatly appreciated, and I would like to look into this further, as I think this could really help my child in his academic learning. This is a great solution, and I can't thank his homeroom teacher enough for this. Get the support that he needed. I love it. Thank you. Now, this is another major concern I have for my son. I'm worried about my son being socially accepted within your school and being bullied, obviously. as all parents would with their child. They don't want to see their child get bullied. The Australian Bureau of Statistics identified in 2012 that 65% of students with autism had difficulty fitting in society. I know it is hard, but I want my child to be happy. This is a huge concern for me. And recently my daughter expressed to me that during lunch breaks at times he was being bullied. I understand at lunch breaks and recesses it is hard for teachers to be everywhere, I do, but I feel this is where my son is most vulnerable, and this is where he needs assistance and support so he can feel secure in this environment. I also want my daughter being with her friends, socializing and taking part in activities. I don't always want her to feel responsible for her brother. Although this is a good trait she has, I want her to be happy with her friends as well. I've been thinking about this issue, and some of the solutions I had would be if you could put more staff on lunch breaks. It would be just to ensure my child isn't getting bullied. I don't want that. And this would allow my daughter to also have her own independence within the school. Sorry. Not only would this help both my children, but I feel it would also help all the children in the school with getting them support and supervision on their breaks. That's all the concerns I have for the moment. I look forward to hearing from you. So thank you for listening to me.
The principal issues, about which you've heard from his mother and will shortly hear more from his teachers, relate to Morty's focus in class, where some hypersensory issues appear to not only be disengaging him from his own work, but often causing him to disrupt others in their learning. This is therefore quite an important issue, but it's critical that we don't simply move Morty to a separate, more accommodating learning environment, even though this approach may be in the immediate interests of both Morty and the other students. And we're here afforded international guidance by both Article 24 of the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities and Clause 7 of the Salamanca Statement and Framework for Action on Special Needs Education. These respectively stipulate that it's an inclusive approach to education that should be taken wherever possible, and that the fundamental principle of this is that all children should learn together, regardless of any difficulties they may have. It's our view that this is entirely possible in Morty's case, and our approach is to therefore make a range of adjustments to the classroom and other learning environments in order to accommodate Morty's particular needs and make those environments more suited to Morty's learning. In these measures, we're again given international guidance by Article 24 of the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, which identifies that the focus when making adjustments for Morty's particular needs should be on reasonable accommodation. However, this guiding principle also has a legally enforceable national counterpart, which operates to ensure that those with disabilities are treated equally, respectfully, and with sensitivity to their particular learning needs. Part 3.4 of those Disability Standards for Education of 2005, which are implemented by the Disability Discrimination Act, mirrors the Convention in prescribing reasonable adjustments to the learning environment as being appropriate. It's these dual principles, inclusive education and reasonable accommodation, which will inform our approach to adjusting Morty's learning environment, the specific details of which will be further considered by Morty's home group teacher. A related issue concerns our approach as teachers to what have been characterised until now as Morty's behavioural issues. As I've briefly outlined, environmental changes will help to manage these, but it's also of importance that teachers are well trained in recognising the behavioural patterns of students on the autism spectrum, as well as the appropriate ways in which to respond to them. Indeed, such training is specifically mandated by Article 24.4 of the Convention, and training in autism awareness and management strategies will therefore form part of our approach to overcoming Morty's learning barriers. In fact, these will also greatly benefit teachers in their professional development, as well as other students who, through teacher modelling, can learn how to better accommodate Morty into their games or social activities. But the most important aspect of our approach to helping Morty seeks to overcome what appears to be something of a deficiency in communication between the school and Morty's parents about his behavioural nuances and particular learning needs. Open channels of communication are fundamental to not only according his parents meaningful input into their child's education, but Also to ensuring that everyone who's involved in Morty's education is working in a consistent manner to ensure that his needs are addressed. And Morty's parents have developed a certain expertise in managing and recognising Morty's behaviours, and it's important that those who are involved in his education have access to that resource. And this partnership approach to the inclusion of students with a disability is prescribed by Clause 59 of the Salamanca Statement. And our approach to fostering better communication, upon which one of Morty's teachers will shortly elaborate, has been formulated around better developing this partnership.
Hello, I'm the teacher in Springfield High School in Morton's classroom. Morton is a very intelligent young kid that willing to improve himself. As his teacher and his advocate in his classroom, I would like to understand him better and how I can help him in any ways to improve his learning in mainstream classroom. As we know, changes in the role of a school-based professional have required changes in a home-school relationship. We need two-way partnership communication between parents and teacher that play very vital roles between school and community. As his teacher, I understand the challenging experience interacting socially and communicating with others could lead him into pressure that have high impact on every aspect of his life. I also understand as a full-time student in my classroom, Martin's also found classroom a social environment that really rely heavily on being able to interact, socialize, and communicate with others effectively. This can intensify the stress, anxiety, depression student as Martin experienced. I also observed Martin closely, and Martin had difficulty to engage in conversation and social skills among his peers. I also noticed Martin also displayed repetitive behavior, such as rocking his chair when he is feeling nervous. I understand that Martins need predictable environment structure and high level of routine along with package of social learning and interaction. Unfortunately, in this environment where he is at not fully support or accommodate his need. Another barrier Martin having an issue is verbal instruction, where he found it very difficult to follow, which is explained it will help him by accommodating visual cues for him to comprehension. The sensory processing around the classroom could give him the anxiety that could make him scream and close his ear promptly. I was having discussion one-on-one with Martin and how I can help him to adjust his way of learning and communicate easier for him and around his peers. He suggests if the teacher could help him cope with change and transition by simply reminding him when a change was looming. Eye contact is very hard for Martin because for him it's painful, which I don't know that before until he actually explained it to me. He listened every single thing what I say in front of the classroom or instruction that actually giving to other students. But to making direct eye contact is very simple for typical children, but it's not easy for Martin. With all the barriers that Martin facing in his school environment, it could lead him with unpredictable behavior that could constantly changing through time to time while he is learning, which cause him in difficulty to manage himself. This could be very simple, the sounds around the classroom or the noises outside, such as blowing leaf, the wind, airplane, or anything could cause him distraction, and the behavior could be absolutely changed during that time. As we know, there are numbers of barriers to providing better and appropriate support to meet the educational need. This including lack of training and knowledge for the teacher and special support who can work together with people that involve in student academic study. A lot of teachers that working with the student with special needs, especially if they have one addition of student in the classroom, usually is a very late notice, and there is no preparation at all and no support at all. This can come from the school environment. Also, always the biggest issue is the fund. The funding for the children with special need in the mainstream classroom. And I hope someday this occasion can change and give the first priority for this student that is absolutely bright student, and it could be absolutely top in the class with the fully help by giving teacher support. One-on-one for them, it's going to be work well for their future. To draw my attention more in this area where communication with parents, I understand how parents approach school with hope and anticipation and often thinking we know and knowledgeable about current practice, which they may have been implementing in the home, but not school. The only way to bring these two viewpoints together is for parents and teachers to become aware of each other's problem and work together. I believe partnership between parents and teachers are vital for student success and beneficial for both sides. This I did it back before, that we swapping phone number to each other between parents and the teacher. If the email could not be reached straight away or the parents could not read the email, I always do the text messages to them to remind them or to give them updating about how the progress of him every single time. They very much appreciate it and they always be willing to work together. And the good thing, if the parents really open about the child condition, they really do willing to work through it to make sure both of a teacher and parent have the same goal and aim to make sure the child will be success in the future. I believe to enhance for benefit parents and students with special education need, we need to focus in teacher preparation program and school administrator, which should incorporate coursework and workshop to help teachers develop skills and strategies to communicate with and involve parents in their child education. This is true. If we can cooperate both between teacher and parent to work together, doing workshop together, it's just to make sure that what they're actually working along the child, both sides is exactly the same. This kind of thing would not be confusing a child, especially to manage behavior if that occurred time to time. Also program that could create a teacher development to understand the need and stress encountered by family student in the spectrum. We don't live with the child, but the parents do. It is very important to give them fully support that we will be there for them, rather advice or comfort, to make sure that parents know that they're not alone. This is very important. Praising the child that he done absolutely the best in the classroom and he managed absolutely well, even though in terms of all distraction, anxiety, they tried the best they could. And I'm very proud for all those students with autism that actually sit down in mainstream classroom and can finish the level, even though so hard for them to actually focus. And applause to parents that actually support completely their child through this difficult situation without sleep and be ready 24 hours to be there next to them through all difficulty that they're facing for this mainstream classroom. In addition, school could suggest for parents to take course parental involvement, which includes strategies to increase communication, concept including parent efficiency, and to increase good communication between school and home. And this not only between parents and teacher, but school have to be involved. The principal have to be involved. And the principal should be give a good example by giving fully support, not just using word and promising, but put it into action. Any kind need that student actually need to be support, especially with the student with special need. The principal should be the first thing first that become a member, biggest support for them. I believe taken together, this training and professional development strategies will provide a strong basis on which to build teacher and parent partnership and which ultimately improve the education of students with ASD. In my final word, I would like to thank you to Morty to teach me and all of us to be included in his world. Good luck for you in the future.
Hello, my name is Mr. George and I'm the home group teacher of the U9 class at Springfield High School. I'm with the class in the mornings before their first lesson and in the afternoon before the final siren for the day sounds and the students are dismissed. As previously stated before me, one student in my home group class, Morty, has a mild autism spectrum disorder. Although I do not teach Morty in a specific subject area, it has become apparent to me through the communication with other teachers within the curriculum that Morty's academic performance is at a level of concern for a student of his age despite having a mild disability. It's imperative that we identify that this is not a curriculum adjustment that needs to be made, but an environmental adjustment to ensure that all students can flourish and achieve to the best of their ability within the classroom. In the mornings when the students arrive at school, they seem tired and disorientated due to the late night antics from the night before. And then in the afternoon, the students are hyperactive because they realise that there is only 10 minutes left until they are able to leave the school premises. Getting the attention and concentration of the students is something that is very difficult at times. Due to Morty's hypersensitivity to lighting, noise and temperature, at times it is very difficult to get his attention when completing simple tasks such as the absentees and reading the school bulletin. The home group class may create a sense of anxiety for Morty due to the different elements within the classroom which causes his behaviour to change significantly. He becomes restless, rudely screams and interrupts the classroom, and as his mother has previously mentioned, even will start to bite his left shoulder. Although it may not seem much to others, a flickering fluorescent light can impact greatly on the attention of Morty. He is drawn to stare at the light and everything happening around him becomes irrelevant. This becomes an issue when reading the school bulletin each morning. There is important information being delivered and some of which is very relevant to Morty. In Article 24 of the Conventions on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, it states the development by a person with disabilities of their personality, talents and creativity, as well as their mental and physical abilities to their fullest potential. In relation to Morty, this statement sums up exactly why environmental adjustments need to be made within the classroom to ensure each student has the ability to reach their full potential. Simple elements such as changing fluorescent lights to LED lights to avoid flickering and noise, ensuring that all doors are closed in the classroom to eliminate external noise, and keeping the classroom at a moderate temperature can assist Morty in excelling intellectually without specific academic assistance. Morty has been consulted about his hypersensitivity issues in regards to changes to the classroom that may need to be made to ensure his full attention is given and also his full potential can be reached. This is done in relation to Part 3 of Consulting, Part 3.5, Consulting the Student in the Disability Standards for Education. The listed changes have also been made in accordance with the Disability Standards for Education with specific reference to 3.4, number 1, which states, an adjustment is reasonable to a student with a disability if it balances the interest of all parties, educators and other students, and also with reference to 3.4.2c. The effect of the adjustment should create the ability to achieve learning outcomes, ability to participate in courses and programs, and create a sense of independence. A significant standard that these changes also meet is 3.4e. The cost and benefits of these adjustments. With reference to these standards, The changes will provide an environment that is possible for all parties to strive and excel intellectually and academically. The inclusion of all students is fundamental at school and in life as a whole, whether it be in the classroom, in the schoolyard, or even outside of the school ground. Everyone has the right to be included and treated with mutual respect despite having differences. In certain situations, Morty needs to be approached in a different manner due to his autism spectrum. In saying that, to promote inclusion within the classroom, Morty is expected to complete our class jobs and participate in class events to ensure he knows he's a part of his home group, and also to promote the other students to include Morty in activities despite his disability. Although, given Morty's disability, in relation to the Salamanca Statement and Framework for Action on Special Needs Education, Number 8 states, children with special educational needs should receive whatever extra support they may require to ensure their effective education. This does apply for Morty despite being treated as a regular student each day. Extra support is there for him day in, day out if it is required. Changing the curriculum to suit specific needs of an individual would require an endless amount of work as each individual is different. Sometimes it needs to be an environmental change to enhance and promote academic performance while providing an atmosphere that allows all parties to participate and succeed to the best of their ability. Thank you.